Could you expound a little bit on the free energy technologies that are being kept hidden that we all need to know about that will free us from fossil fuel slavery?
Yeah, in my book I quote from Dr. Michael Wolff, who worked in the underground facilities in Nevada and Arizona. And he said that the United States forces, in cooperation with the extraterrestrials, had developed both zero-point energy and cold fusion. And these are the things people have been searching for forever. It's sort of like making gold out of lead, which I'm told they can do now too if they want to. So it's there, and even if it isn't, from what I know of the extraterrestrials, secondhand, from people who have talked to them and visited them and been abducted by them, they want us to save our planet. They would give it to us if the United States Air Force would stop shooting at them. But we've got to persuade the Americans that we don't want a world where somebody's got to master the world by armed force. We want a world where we change our priorities and get rid of these huge defense expenditures and use the money to provide food and shelter and education and clothing for people that don't have any. A different kind of world altogether than what we've had. And that they shouldn't take the extraterrestrials on for size, which they seem determined to do. But this is an interesting point. General Eisenhower said, beware of the industrial military complex. What he was really referring to was the fact that he had lost control of E.T. File. Nelson Rockefeller, it's an interesting name, he had hired him to work out who would run the thing. And a lot of the responsibility was turned over to private enterprise. So that the government of the United States has lost control of a whole pile of stuff that's going on out there. The President of the United States doesn't even know what's going on out there. And if he wanted to know, they would just say, Mr. President, you don't have clearance for that project. This is, what it is. But getting back to the point, either the technology exists, which I believe, or they would give it to us if we treat them like friendly neighbors and collaborators in the cosmos instead of as enemies that they were originally designated. Then there's no doubt that we could change the system in 10 years, which is about what we have to do if we change the banking system too. So we've got the money in order to be able to do it. I say that it's the most urgent problem in the world at the moment, but the most important is the environment. We're wrecking the planet. We're doing it at a very fast pace, and we're going to have to stop wrecking it, and that means huge changes. Too late for more offshore drilling, too late for more projects in the oil sands, too late for more huge, noisy windmill farms, all of this stuff. We have to get onto the real technology that is going to make it possible to do this job and do it correctly and do it quickly. It was told to me that they had developed both zero-point energy and cold fusion. Right. And either one of these or both could be used to change the world by getting off fossil fuels in my opinion, as short a period as 10 years. We have to mobilize as if it was a mobilization of war for our own survival, which in fact, in many ways it is, yes. You see. Well, then the other big thing is we have to change the world banking system. Right. And the time has come for us to say, hey, enough is enough after 2.5 centuries or whatever of putting us in debt this way and making slaves of us all. Balance our budgets and get our economies back up to scratch, employ the unemployed people, and then do this tremendous job that has to be done of converting from an oil economy into a clean energy economy.
Hello, Apollo here with the Honorable Paul Hellyer. Beginning in 1963, Mr. Hellyer served as the Minister of National Defense for Canada. Paul has been outspoken on the U.S. government's withholding of UFO information, and as well as its aggressive stance on the extraterrestrial presence. He is the author of Light at the End of the Tunnel. We're happy to have you here, sir. It's an honor, Mr. Paul Hellyer.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. Let's jump right in. For those who may not be as familiar with you, sir, how would you summarize your work in the UFO field?
On the UFOs?
Yeah,
Well,
environment and what you're doing now.
Well, it's, as far as the UFOs are concerned, I'm not a ufologist, and I don't claim to be.
Right.
So in my book, Light at the End of the Tunnel, I only have one chapter on ufology. Okay. It's titled We Are Not Alone in the Cosmos. And I put it in there largely as a primer for the whole world of skeptics who might read my book because it has a different title and it's about different things, and perhaps get enough interested, then they would then carry on and learn more about the extraterrestrial people and what they have done and are doing. And I'm not, that's not my specialty. My specialty is really finance, international banking, and so that is my number one interest. And I say that it's the most urgent problem in the world at the moment, but the most important is the environment. Right. We're wrecking the planet. We're doing it at a very fast pace, and we're going to have to stop wrecking it. And that means huge changes, both as far as the financial system is concerned, and as far as the disclosure of exotic fuels that might have resulted from the back engineering of the extraterrestrial people's technology for 60 years now. Right. And that these things all fit together. So we have to get change, big change there, and then of course big change with us humans too, and stop killing each other for various minor reasons, including religion, and start working together to try and build the kind of world that we all want to see.
Yeah. Now you, in that one chapter, and I know that your one of your tie-ins with the UFO field is that the technology that that could help us with the environment that it's purported the extraterrestrials might possess, and could you comment on that?
Yeah, I think that they, working together with U.S. scientists, have come up with exotic fuels. It was told to me years ago, probably a decade ago, that they had developed both zero-point energy and cold fusion. Right. And either one of these, or both, could be used to change the world by getting off fossil fuels in my opinion, as short a period as 10 years. And I have set 10 years as the deadline. I know some scientists who think we've gone past the Rubicon. And I said, well, even if that's true, and I hope it isn't, let's say that we've got 10 years to do something, but we've got to start right away. Right. And we have to mobilize as if it was a mobilization of war for our own survival, which in fact, in many ways it is, you see. So that's exactly the mode that we've got to be in, is get off our chairs and do something, and do it now. And of course, there are some real problems involved. And one of them is the misinformation being put forward by the oil industry, which has lulled a lot of people into thinking that we've got 30 years or 40 years or 50 years, and they're still drilling for oil in the Gulf of Mexico, and they're still making new projects in the oil sands in Canada. And I'm saying, too late for all that. Too late for more offshore drilling, too late for more projects in the oil sands, too late for more huge, noisy windmill farms, all of this stuff. We have to get onto the real technology that is going to make it possible to do this job and do it correctly and do it quickly. Right. So that is the big thing. Well, then the other big thing is we have to change the world banking system. Absolutely. And stop letting a few private individuals create all the money as debt, which puts us all so far in debt that we can't afford to do anything, and cut back all over the place, and just to raise enough money to pay the interest on the debt we already have. And so we have to have a real change there, and what I'm going to recommend to or say to the Congress is that I wrote a book in 1999 saying that the next world war would be between the people and the banking system. Right. That's very interesting. And so now is the time to get at it, because they're mobilizing all their big guns, which are the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the Federal Reserve System and the Bank for International Settlement, they're getting all ready for their final assault on we the people.
Right.
And a time has come for us to say, hey, enough is enough after 2.5 centuries or whatever of putting us in debt this way and making slaves of us all, that we've got to reverse the tables and print enough money country by country to balance our budgets and get our economies back up to scratch, employ the unemployed people, and then do this tremendous job that has to be done of converting from an oil economy into a clean energy economy.
Is it fossil fuels? Is that a major problem in the economy?
Well, the fossil fuels, it is the major problem with the survival of the world.
Okay, right.
It is an important part of the economy.
Right.
And as an excuse, we say, well, this would be a tremendous disruption.
Right.
Well, of course. What do you know, if you're launching a war to save the world, you're going to have some disruption. And just as in World War II, we stopped making automobiles, and we stopped doing this, and we stopped doing that until we could win the war, and then we started doing those things again. So we have to get off the oil economy and move to the new energies, and the people that are working now pumping gas will be helping build the engines of the new cars and the new airplanes and the new houses and all of the things that have to be done to revolutionize the world.
So you spoke about a 10-year window, and how do you see the world after that? In that 10
Well,
years?
if we were to attempt and succeeded in changing from the fossil fuels, the world would look very different in the sense that we'd have all new cars, new airplanes, and houses would no longer have gas furnaces, and we'd have little boxes probably in each one and all this sort of thing. But we would redirect our energies, and this is the important thing, into providing a more equitable and just world, where some of us weren't overeating and others starving.
Right.
And where some of us get all the education that we want and others don't even get grade school. And where some people today are not having any medical care and, you know, all of the things that if we were a just world, we would say, okay, now I talk about the kingdom of God on earth, and this is what we should redirect a lot of our military effort toward. And I define that as a world where every child has enough food to eat and clean water to drink and a roof over his or her head, enough clothing to keep them warm or dry or whatever, enough medical care that they don't have to die unnecessarily from some preventable disease, and enough education that they can, you know, find out for themselves if they have the potential to go on and serve their fellow person, their fellow humanity as teachers or doctors or whatever, or laborers, whatever fits into the overall scheme of things. And you'd have a tremendous growth, but it would be a green growth, a sustainable growth. I mean, a lot of environmental, well, you don't want to increase GDP. Well, changing all of the cars to new ones would certainly increase the GDP, but it's going to help save the economy. And what is your aim? And if your aim is a sustainable world, then let's do the things that have to be done and get all of the people of the world, especially the unemployed at the present time, involved and engaged in it. So that's sort of my take on the situation.
I have to ask you, since you were the Minister of Defense for Canada, and what insight can you, I know that's just not your primary focus in your field, but what insight could you give us in how major governments deal with the UFO phenomenon? Like, you know, what's Canada's position? Are they? Is there a Canada Roswell? I wanted to ask you that. Is there Canada?
If there is a Canada position, I'd like to know what it is too.
Okay. Okay.
There was a crash in. There have probably been more than one, but there was a crash in northern Manitoba some years ago, and Grant, is it Campbell or Cameron? I keep forgetting which. Has identified this and talks about it in his website and so on. And I guess one of the things that upset Canadians is that the Americans rushed across the border to seize it.
What?
Oh, yeah. And had armed guards all around, and as Canadian, even the people from the Department of Transport, which I used to head, wanted to investigate. They said, oh, no way you're going to get close to this machine. And so they checked with Ottawa, and finally Ottawa said, well, let them have it.